Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host Flavia Barris as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak to Joshua Olmos. He is a marketing strategy consultant who helps entrepreneurs create greater impact while growing their business. He is based in Reno, Nevada, and got his start in marketing in the nonprofit sector. But now he helps solopreneurs launch their businesses for highest impact in sales. He believes that if you get the finance part locked in tight, you don't need to work 100 hours a week. He is one of us for sure. Joshua, welcome to the show.
So glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, it's great to have you because, well, number one, we chat all the time about restaurant recommendations back and forth because I love Reno, you love San Diego, and it's always fun to kind of chit chat about all the amazing things that people can do when they visit each of our towns. So I always love chatting with you. But today, rather than food, we're going to focus a little bit on your business, what you've been up to, and also sort of how you keep sane and how you keep a balanced life, because on this show, we are all about not just the hustle. We don't want to be those people that sacrifice everything for their business and sacrifice loved ones and family and free time just to hustle and grow their business. So let's jump in first by talking a little bit about what you currently do for a living, what your business is, and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, I love this show. I was actually binge listening to some of your latest episodes because not only do I love San Diego, but I love the fact that you do this like lifestyle solopreneur. That is like the heartbeat of why I do this. In fact, before I named my business Day by Day Solutions, I was going to go lifestyle productivity. So the lifestyle solopreneur is perfect. Right now, what I'm doing is I am a strategy consultant. And I do that because I really believe that if you have the right strategy in place, if you have the right systems in place, then you can actually build your life the way you want to. Right now, my life is amazing. I mean, it took a little while to kind of get everything worked out, but I don't really have set times of like when I'm on and when I'm off because I wanted the lifestyle. I didn't want to kind of clock into work like you do a regular 9 to 5 and then clock out of work. My schedule right now, we do it week by week. And I make sure that my family, I have 4 kids. I've been married 18 years, and making sure that the family comes first, making sure that this is a part of our lifestyle, that I'm able to be there for all my kids' events, be able to help them, be able to make all the appointments, be able to do whatever it is that I feel is really important throughout that week is essential. Whether if I travel, be able to take my kids with me, if I go speak, be able to take, my wife with me, and we can actually extend it to have a little bit of a holiday. If I need to go see a client, if I want to bring a friend up, if my kids have an archery game or any type of competition, I'm able to be available for that. I really believe that if we get the right strategy in place, then you can have the life that you want, not the life that other people say you're supposed to have.
Oh, we are so cut from the same fabric. Absolutely. I have a question. So when you help entrepreneurs and business people focus on strategy, what is one of those big mistakes that you find is really common? Like what is that big oops or boo-boo that people seem to make when they set up their life and they think about strategy? Or maybe that is the problem. They don't think about strategy, but you tell me, what's that big mistake that you see over and over and over again?
The biggest mistake I see is not being clear. Is so many people have a hard time being clear about what they want or where they want to get to. It's just like a map. If you don't know where you're headed, then you won't know if you arrive to your destination. I've seen so many people, myself included for so many years, work really, really hard day in and day out, really hard workers, really good people, put in all that work, but they never ended up reaching their destination, never ended up reaching their goal because they were headed in the wrong direction. So that's why strategy is such a fundamental, being clear on the strategy, having the right strategy in place is such a fundamental to business, to life, I really believe, because if not, you can work really, really hard and head in the wrong direction.
Clarity. I mean, that's something, clarity is a gift when people are more precise and clear. I mean, think about it. If someone just said every day, I want to be rich, like that's my goal, to be rich. Well, what does that even mean, right? I mean,
Right.
compared to a vast majority of the world, if you live in a developed country, I mean, you are rich. Like if you can
Right.
turn on a tap and clean, drinkable water comes out, you're rich, right? Or maybe if a grizzly bear were to kind of chew on your arm, they'd be like, wow, 40% body fat, you are rich, right? And there's
Right.
so many ways you can describe a concept. And I love that you are helping people get way more clear and specific and just to kind of narrow down what a goal even really means. So most people that come to you for help with strategy, what are the most typical goals that people have? Like what makes people come to that breaking point where they're like, you know what? I need help and guidance and mentorship when it comes to strategy because I'm not doing it right myself. And I have this big goal. I mean, do you find that the goals are common between people and you start to see a pattern? Or is it all over the board and really just everyone is so unique in what they're going for?
So when they first come to me, everyone kind of seems to be lumped into the same category as they want to live life on their terms and they want to be rich, but they don't know how to do it and what they're doing isn't working. And then after we kind of talk a little bit, then everyone's uniqueness comes out because that's that clarity process, right? If when you see these YouTube videos and you see these, inspirational, motivational quotes, which I'm guilty of it, I put that stuff out a lot too myself, just because I really believe that where there's a will, there's a way, and people have untapped potential. They can do and live whatever lifestyle they want. So I'm big on that. But most people come because they want more finances. They want to start a business. They want to live life on their terms. But what they don't realize is you can do those things, but be miserable while doing them because you're not doing them clearly. You're not doing them for the right reasons. You're not doing something that you like. And obviously it's work. So you're not going to like every minute of it. But if you're working 18 hours a day and you miss your kids growing up for the next 5 years, you're going to hate that. You can be really, really fit eating the stuff that you hate and every day just being miserable because you're dehydrated, but you look good. So in the beginning, people have these really broad terms of what they want. And then breaking that down for being clear on that is number one. So most of the people I get are entrepreneurs, people who, like me, have something in them where they want to build, they want to kind of live life on their own terms, but they just can't seem to get it. They've gone through a lot of programs, they've done a lot of tactics, but because they didn't have the right strategy in place, it fell through.
What's your client mix? Do you have more clients in kind of one type of business than others, or a predominant type? I mean, do you work mostly with like coaches or people in finance or people in real estate? Or, I mean, is it just truly all across the board scattered everywhere? Or do you see that you're sort of starting to niche down and focus on one type of entrepreneur?
So the fun thing about what I get to do is I get to pick my clients. And because of that, I've actually sampled a lot of different people to see what kind of clients I like to work with the most. So I started off with small businesses and I started off with brick and mortar businesses because that's actually when I was a lot younger, I started two brick and mortar businesses. So I knew that industry. And so I helped a lot of those people kind of get free because there's something that you actually said in in one of your podcasts that I loved. And it says, it's great to be your own boss unless you're a crappy boss. And I love that. I wrote that down.
It's true. It's true.
Right. And so what happens is people get into business and then they're stuck. And we get into this for our freedom and they realize they're working 16-hour days, 6 days a week and not reaping any of the benefits that they thought they would reap. So I started off with those small business, brick and mortar businesses, and then started working with a little bit bigger businesses. And I realized I actually liked the smaller business owners. I liked the solopreneurs. I like the people who are just starting out. And so now I work with a lot of solopreneurs and in service and product-based businesses, usually have one product though. So solopreneurs that want to kind of go into the product-based business, those are the people that I ended up working with because I found that when they make their first 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 a year, they're super excited and it changes everything. And it just gets me excited. I love working with those types of people. When I was working with a little bit bigger clients and businesses, we'd make our first 100,000 a month and they'd be like, that's great. Can we do it again next year or next month? And I'd be like, I'm excited. You're not excited? All right. Well, and it kind of became this systematic thing. And I'm like, I don't want to work with people who aren't excited about what they're doing.
That makes sense. No, excitement is, I mean, that's life, right? It's funny, I was reading something where it said that the only difference between fear and excitement is like your breathing pattern. So for a lot of people who growth happens to in their business, they might feel some sort of fear. Maybe that means they're not breathing into it enough, but excitement to me means you're doing things, right?
Right.
If you're on a vacation, there should be a little excitement, right? Some sort of excitement to explore, excitement to try something, excitement to try a new food, maybe try a new sport, or even just excitement to learn something new about yourself. I love just reading. I mean, going on vacation to me isn't a full, complete vacation until I've had some time to read, which is maybe why I love plane rides. Because on a plane ride, I just get into a book and, 5 hours goes by and then my nose comes up and I'm like, oh, we're there. Great. So, yeah, excitement. That's the spice of life. I can see why you prefer to work with clients who are excited by their own progress and their own work because that feeds you too.
Exactly. And I'm exactly like you. I mean, we just had a long weekend and I love books as well. So I'm very similar in that. So I went through like 2 or 3 different books and just finished them. And that I was excited about that. I was really excited for the long weekend because I'm like, I'm going to have more time to read. So I'm like, besides food, we're going to have to trade some titles, some book recommendations because I'm a huge reader. I read like 3 or 4 books at a time. And I feel like learning and growing and trying new things is amazing. And I'm someone who I will never recommend something to my client that I haven't tried myself. But what I love doing is I love trying new things. So when I first started off with like social media, my friends used to get really, really annoyed with me because I would have 3 or 4 or 5 different social media accounts because I wanted to try different techniques and different strategies to see what would work. In fact, one of the things I'm going to be writing a book soon about the benefits of kind of being a jack of all trades because they're great at strategizing. And we don't realize that as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to do a lot of things. You're not just a mother. You're not just a podcaster or someone who loves books. You're not just, someone who, I don't know if you like the outdoors or a foodie or you're all these different things. And so being able to kind of grow even 1% in each one of those categories leads to a very fulfilling life, I believe.
I think so too. And that's, one of the toughest things with finding that fulfillment in life is making sure that you leave enough white space and sort of opportunity and room in your schedule to do all the things that you love to do, whether it's reading a good book or spending time with your family, whatever it might be. How do you maintain that? Because I know there's a lot of demands on your time. I mean, I often say as well, one of the downsides of being really good at what you do is that you become in demand. And so people want your time and they want you. And, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of invitations and a lot of, new clients that want to hire you. But sometimes you do have to learn to say no or to somehow keep that work creep from creeping into your schedule to where your schedule is no longer what you want it to be. What are some of your techniques? I'm sure not just for yourself, but maybe things you help clients do, but how do you maintain that balance and that sort of schedule that you help people strategize and design? What's the best way to keep that in a world where everybody just wants more of you?
My technique is actually a little bit out there, to be honest with you. In fact, yesterday I had some family over and it was an awesome time. And they asked me like, how is your schedule so available for all this when you have all of these things going on? I just saw you speaking over here. You just had an interview over there. I know you have clients that you have to work with. I just saw you at the game. Like, how are you available for everything? And my secret is that I'm available for these things because I'm actually not ever available. Like I keep my availability really small. My phone is always on do not disturb. My clients know that I will get back to them, but we have a 48-hour where I get back to them. And so being able to kind of keep that gap of availability. So I schedule my week a week in advance, and obviously the big things a month out in advance, but I always keep a lot of white space, like you said, a lot of gaps, because you never know what life's going to throw at you. You never know what's going to go on. I want to be able to, not have every single minute of my life scheduled. I know that that helps some people and that works for some people. But for me, if I'm getting ready in the morning and my son comes downstairs and he wants to have a conversation, I don't want to cut him off and go, oh, I have to go to this meeting. I want to be able to have an hour conversation with him. If I'm at a networking event and someone wants to grab coffee the next day, I want to be able to schedule that in and not go, oh, I can do that, but 3 months out. So my not being available actually makes me more available and able to be present in each time. So I only have 3 things a day that has to be done and that I book. And then the rest of the time, I kind of try to be in the moment.
And I'm sure, like you said, your son appreciates that because he knows that if he comes up to dad and is like, hey, do you want to go outside and play with me? You can do that. And I think that is really important. I mean, flexibility is so key. I think more employers are catching on to that because I've heard sort of anecdotally and read some articles that more and more employees are making PTO a little bit more flexible and sort of, if an employee says, look, I got to run out and go pick up a prescription, or my kid needs this and I just need to go and take care of that, that employers are being more lenient and not requiring that kind of punch the clock mentality as much. Now, this would only really apply to more of the sort of computer-based type jobs, not so much for things like working at a retail counter or something where your cheeks and seats is more important or where, your physical presence is more critical. But I wonder, is this like a movement, do you think, in the world in general and at large? Or is this something that really it's up to each of us to do because the rest of the world is just not interested in helping us maintain our lifestyle?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think because of COVID and all that, we found out that remote work and us having more control of our time is that much more valuable. And so I notice a lot of people are kind of more pushing back and trying to look for jobs that allow you to do that. So the employers that have a lot more of that leeway and give you more of that leeway are going to be the ones that are going to be a lot more popular and going to do better. And so people are going to follow that model. But I also believe that if one of the reasons I put my phone on do not disturb all the time, and the only exceptions are my family that get to kind of text and I hear it and all that stuff, is because you kind of train, whether it be your employee or your employers or your clients or your friends and family, you kind of train them in your availability and how accessible you are. So if you get distracted by every ding, if you have your phone on you all the time, if you answer every email after 5 minutes, they're going to get used to that and expect that. And so we do have to get used to saying no and kind of letting people know that there's that cushion, because I noticed this a lot with my friends where they became really good workers and they were the ones who were always called in on different shifts. And they were always the ones who were called to cover someone. They were always the ones who were expected to stay late. And so even though they were great at what they did, it actually became harder for them because they couldn't leave and they kind of felt guilty about not taking up an extra shift that day or not going in when someone called in. And that kind of takes away a little bit of the stuff that you want to do. I've had friends who have canceled trips to Tahoe or, because I live pretty close to Tahoe. So we were going to go to Tahoe for the day and they canceled because they're like, oh, someone canceled the shift, I'm going to go cover. And we had planned this out for like 2 or 3 weeks because they felt guilty leaving their employer hanging. And I understand that to an extent, but I have noticed that pattern that if you say yes all the time, you're going to be expected to say yes.
Guilt, right?
Yeah.
What a force. That's a hard one. I mean, guilt is real. I'm not a psychologist. I wonder what the root guilt is, because clearly it's the opposite of narcissism, right? So if someone's a narcissist, they probably are incapable of guilt or sort of compassion or any of those, right? Because they're only focused on self. So I wonder if the more of an un-narcissist you are, the more of a tendency you have towards guilt and, feeling like you want to be there for the others and, you don't want to self-indulge or do all the self-care, or you'd rather flake on yourself and your Tahoe trip than to say no to helping your employer. It's really interesting. And I'm sure it's a personality issue, but one of the things you probably help people do is to train themselves out of that. Is that right?
Exactly. So a lot of that is, in my opinion, is perspective. It's like when you get on an airplane, they give you all the safety features. And one of the things that they tell you is if something were to happen and the oxygen mask comes down, you need to put that on yourself first and then put it on your child and then help your neighbor with it. And a lot of people think that I'm not going to worry about myself. I'm going to take care of other things. I'm going to take care of the other person. I'm going to take care of the employer. I'm going to take care of my clients. And that's great. But what they forget, and we all forget because life comes at us so fast and we're so busy, is that if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, that's going to come across. If you feel like you don't have enough energy and you're tired all the time, that's going to come across. If you don't eat right, if you don't exercise, if you don't take time to relax, then that's going to come across. And so if you don't take care of you, then what happens is that actually is going to start affecting those relationships. It's got to start affecting what's going on. And so it's better to be all of you, the excited, well-rested, enthusiastic, creative you, show up every time, and it be fewer times than for you to be there all the time and be available all the time and be worn out and tired and jump from meeting and meeting and exhausted and not giving your all or your best to the person in front of you because you haven't done all the little things to take care of yourself first.
Well said. Well said. And what's next for you right now? I mean, what's your big on your horizon that you're really excited about right now?
So one of the things that I'm excited about is I'm actually going to start leaning a little bit more towards my own systems and procedures. So in the next year, I'll have a couple courses and a couple books come out. And I'm really excited about those because I love being able to help people one-on-one. I love being able to kind of share what's going on. But I've realized more and more we do online learning, and hearing you that you love to read books, and I love to read books. A while ago, I had written one book and I was going to write another one. And a friend of mine was like, well, no one really reads anymore. Just, throw it on social media. But I've met more and more people who love to read. So I'm really excited to get back into writing, really excited to get back into some courses, developing some courses to help more people, because that's kind of the whole purpose of this, right? To be able to impact as many people as I possibly can. And so I'm really excited to be able to kind of start going down that journey and go down that road.
That is the ultimate leverage, especially if you want to help others, right? There's only so many one-on-one clients that any one of us could help. And writing books, creating online courses, content like that, I mean, that truly is a way to make your reach just get out there more and to leverage yourself. So I am your biggest cheerleader here. I am for this. I can't wait to hear that you've launched those. How do people sign up to get on your wait list to hear about these great things so that when you do launch your course, they will hear about it, and as well as your book?
So they can, two ways. If social media, then LinkedIn and Instagram is kind of the place where I like to interact with the community a lot and answer all those DMs and messages. And if it's more about email sign up, then daybydaySolution.com or joshuaolmos.com, either one of those. And you can sign up for some of the sources there and sign up for a waiting list.
Awesome. So joshuaolmos.com and also daybydaySolution.com. Two places where you can get in touch with Joshua. Stay tuned in to hear when his book comes out, to hear about his courses. Joshua, I think you are just one of those people that has really figured out a lot of ways to just truly live a life, like to live a life and not just walk through it handcuffed and, sort of a prisoner to your own schedule. I love that you live free, that you teach others to be strategic about their own businesses so that they can live free as well. And that you're someone who just truly gets excited about life and enjoys living it, which is one of the greatest gifts anybody can give themselves, is to find their own path to enjoying their own life. So thank you, Joshua, so much for being on the show today. You're always so amazing to speak to, and I can't wait to catch up with you next time.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Guess what, lifestyle solopreneurs? If you don't yet have an online business earning you enough passive income to live the life of your dreams, I'd like to suggest you consider trying out Kajabi. Kajabi is an all-in-one solution where you can create and teach online courses, publish a paid newsletter, launch a free or paid podcast, process payments, build one-on-one coaching portals for your clients, and much, much more. I personally use Kajabi to power numerous successful and profitable online businesses. Lifestyle solopreneurs, there's a free trial of Kajabi waiting for you at this link, www.kfreetrial.com. You can try Kajabi for free, no obligation, by going to www.kfreetrial.com. Again, kfreetrial.com, and that K stands for Kajabi. Starting an online business helped me break free from that corporate grind, and I hope it does the same for you. You have nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, and see you next time.